All right, here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Nate Demming's Drunk Talk Show. We have the second episode ever where I am not drunk. Not only that, but I don't know if you guys know this. We usually record this around 3:30 in the morning. Today, it's 3 p.m. The reason why I'm not drinking, partially because it's only 3 p.m. and I just woke up. Other than that, that's enough out of the peanut gallery. Other than that, we got Louie Bee here, and Louie Bee don't fuck with no drugs.
Don't blame me for your fucking sobriety.
Louie Bee is a unicorn. That's why I have him on the show. Louie Bee is a native New Yorker, conservative Puerto Rican.
Well, actually, I'm a libertarian, Nate.
But you're a conservative libertarian.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
I also believe in the libertarian viewpoint, but I'm more on the liberal end of the spectrum.
Well, I mean, I maybe I don't like what certain people do, but I tolerate it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want the government to regulate somebody's life and what they do in their bedroom or what they do to their body. I might not agree with it, but hey, you know, mazel tov.
I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday. We're like,
Yeah.
I see guns and abortion the same issue, or the same like type of issue to me. Like both of them, I don't think that they should have ever been invented to begin with.
Yeah.
But they were.
Well, the thing,
And they're already here, and we can't take it away.
Well, the thing is, when it comes to guns, my view are, you should be able to defend yourself however you see
absolutely.
fit.
But what I'm saying is, like, my argument isn't
like
that
I
you
want to be
shouldn't
a
have
good guy with a suitcase nuke.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to walk around. Somebody come at me with a gun saying, "Give me a wallet." I'd be like, "How bad you really want this $20?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, my argument is, in a perfect world, there wouldn't be guns. If I had a problem with you, we'd punch each other in the face until we solved it. If I wanted to kill a fucking deer to eat it, I'd use a bow and arrow because I'm already a human goddamn being with 10 times the cognitive reasoning that deer has. And I don't need a gun to even the odds anymore.
I don't know. Have you seen that video of that hunter with the bow and arrow getting fucked up by the elk?
Well, dude, deer kill a lot of people. Deer actually kill more people than bears do every year in the wild. Because they're very territorial. They have a lot of testosterone, and those fucking antlers don't exist for no reason. Like, it's not; those aren't just for show. They're for fighting.
And that's why I need an AK-47.
But you don't, man.
Yes, I do.
You're a human. You're a human. You could think better than that.
Yeah, and I don't got antlers.
You can plan better
If
than
I
the
had
deer can.
if I had antlers, then
And
I
you
go
could climb a fucking tree if you need to run away from it. The deer is not going to.
My fat ass ain't climbing no damn tree.
Then
Nate.
your fat ass shouldn't be hunting.
Then how am I gonna stay fat, Nate?
Yeah.
You don't think of this. I need the protein too.
All I'm saying is both guns and abortion. I don't think either of them should ever have been
way-
invented. I don't think they should even exist in the first place, but
Yeah.
they exist, and they're both very easy things to do on your own.
Right.
I could make a gun out of toilet parts. I could make an abortion out of a coat hanger. So either of those things, I could do them in my home
My
by
problem
myself.
is the people that are getting abortions are getting them because they're lazy and they don't take any precaution in the first place. And
Is that 100% of the time, or is that a portion of the time?
See, you jumped me because I was saying, and the other people that get and the people that are not getting them should get them.
Exactly. Oh yeah, these idiots with like 5 fucking kids who never even finished high school, and you work at the sewage treatment plant, and you're like, we can't afford the mortgage. Well, you could before you had 5 kids, dumbass.
Either that, or you get the ones that have like 19 kids and they're molesting each other left and right.
Oh yeah, dude. I'm from Pennsylvania, and even the cities, like even Philadelphia, is sort of hillbilly. Like there's trailer parks,
Really?
and yeah, there's trailer parks in Philadelphia.
Born and raised, where on the playground I spent most of my days.
Yeah, but I'm not from Philly. I'm from like right outside of Philly. So
You're like in the section without the blacks.
no, actually, there's more black people.
Oh, okay.
I'm from like.
So why are you so racist? No,
I'm not racist. I
hate
realistic.
everyone
I know. I am realistic. Anytime anybody's ever called me racist, it's when they're like, why do black people get shot by the police so much? Why do black people commit so much crime? You can't bring up that statistic. Then why do you get to bring up yours? like,
It's like where do you get your statistics? FBI.gov.
Yeah. The Department of Justice, asshole. Where do you get yours? Black Lives Matter? Well, there you have your problem. We're not talking about the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think like I was telling you before the podcast is like, like, you know, I support Trump, and you know, when I go on Facebook, people criticize me, and it's mostly these white comics. It's these white comics that call me a race traitor. I'm like, wait, wait a minute. Wouldn't it be easier for you to just call me the N-word? I mean, that's just the same fucking thing. You know, you're just being fucking racist. So I'm sorry. Like, I agree with
if you're Puerto Rican in America, you can't be a race traitor because you cover all of the racial... Like, all right, you're part white, you're part Native American...
Part black.
You're part black, and you're part Hispanic.
Yeah, and in my family, I have Irish... I have Italian in me somewhere.
But I mean, just by being Puerto Rican alone, you would have all that shit in you anyway, because they're like a compound of every different race in America.
Yeah.
Like, so you are a little bit black, you're a little bit white, you're a little bit Hispanic, you're a little bit Native American. That's what Puerto Rican is.
Yeah, I mean, so. and it go and the thing is like when they start calling me a race traitor, I'm like, first of all, do you know what it's like to be Puerto Rican? Do you know what the Puerto Rican culture is? It's like, who are you to judge what I should be thinking? Like, Kanye was right. You're trying to put people on a fucking plantation. And the people that want to stay on that plantation, at this point, in this day and age, slavery is a choice.
And that is what I think he was trying to say, where he's like, you know, like, we ended slavery, and now you're in this mental slavery. The government still keeps you held down, and you're saying, oh, black men can't succeed. With all these black men around you succeeding, the only thing keeping you from succeeding is you saying a black man can't succeed.
Exactly.
So you don't try because you think it's worthless to try. That's what's holding you back. It's not the government. Well, yeah, actually it is the government, because the government's the one perpetuating that idea. But they're not actually doing anything to physically keep you from attaining your goals.
No.
They're just putting the idea out there, hey, it's going to be hard for you, and then you don't try. So in a way, yes, the government is holding black people down, but they're not doing it physically. They're doing it mentally.
Yeah, I mean, look, in actual reality, is especially in New York City, for me to get anything fucking done, I have to jump through so many goddamn hoops to get anything done, and that's because Democrats put all these fucking regulations in my fucking way.
Just to like, all right, I moved here. You were born here.
Born and raised, yep.
Yeah, but just to be considered...
In fact, at this point, I miss fucking Giuliani. At this point, I miss Giuliani. Look,
you read his fucking book? That guy's a narcissist. But no, anyway, but just to move here.
But you know what?
No. The hoops to jump through. To move here. Like, if you come here from another city, I moved here 3 years ago. I'm not a New York City resident yet. And I've lived here for 3 years because of how much bureaucracy and paperwork and different offices and all this sorts of bullshit and regulations you have to go through just to reap the benefits of living in one of the most expensive cities in the country.
Jesus, what? You trying to get a green card? Aren't you guys married?
No.
Are you a resident here? No. Oh, see, you gotta marry yourself a citizen. That's why.
But like for instance, I can't.
You want to get married, Nate? It's
but no, like if I'm not like a New York City,
welfare.
If I'm not a New York City resident, I can't get my New York City ID. I can't be a fireman. I can't get, like, let's say I needed to go on welfare in New York. I couldn't do that. I can't do any public. I can't work for the government, and I can't benefit from the government. Yes, I pay taxes in New York, but I need to file paperwork to prove that I'm a New York resident to qualify for any of the benefits that are specific to New York residents.
There's essentially like a point system, and all the items on the list are pointed or not pointed. Like some you need like 3 forms of ID with your birth date on it.
Dude, I gotta go through that just to get a fucking learner's permit. Well, it wasn't that hard for me, but you know. But maybe because I mean, don't you guys get bills or you know?
It's not even that. It's the amount of time that it takes and the amount of different offices that you need to go to. And the government doesn't care about your job. In the government's eyes, they're like, what do you mean you have to be at work at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why would you can't just come here? Like, they can't make reasonable appointments.
Yeah. Yeah. So what, you work Monday through Friday?
Well, no. Actually, I have a perfect job for a comedian.
Oh. Stripper?
Well, no. I've worked in the restaurant industry since I was about 19 years old, and I've worked my way all the way up. I've been a sous chef.
Oh.
And after I did that, I was just like, I don't really like the whole chef thing, at least not in New York, because it's impossible. It's not just difficult, it's impossible to do what you need to do. It's just a constant game of catch-up where you never get to catch up. And I don't want to live my life that way. I don't want that stress on top of the stress of breaking into comedy.
Right.
So I was just like, I went to this other restaurant and I showed them my resume. I was like, this is all the experience I have. Technically, I could be a fucking manager here, but I don't want to do that. I want whatever you have available. And they were like, all right, so Mondays and Wednesdays, I come in overnight. I could get there whenever I want. As long as I'm gone by 11 in the morning, I could get there whenever I want. I come in overnight and I clean the whole restaurant.
Oh.
And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I work 10-hour shifts as a dishwasher.
Oh, okay.
And I make $14.50 an hour to do it.
So you're basically doing the jobs no other American wants to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, the Mexicans at work joke with me. They're like, dude, do you realize that you stole a job away from 2 Mexicans?
Yeah, no, right.
So, yeah, it is. I'm doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. But, like, all 4 of my grandparents were immigrants. Well, 3 of my 4 grandparents were immigrants. So, like, I don't know. My dad grew up a level of poverty that most people don't even know exists in America. Like, he lived in a log cabin with his 4 brothers and sisters and his parents. He shared a bed with his brothers. They burned coal for heat.
And then
his dad just did odd jobs.
And one time, during one winter, they went and kidnapped a bunch of women, and they kept them there over the winter, and then they got married.
No.
7 Wives for My 7 Brothers.
Nothing like that.
That's an old movie. Old movie. Nobody gets it. Seven Wives for 7 Brothers.
I've never seen that. But no. Like, my dad grew up.
It's a very rapey. It's a very rapey movie. It's like they kidnapped the 7 brothers. They kidnapped these women to marry. This was like old, like Western, and this was supposed to be a love story back in the 40s.
Well, like, dude, people don't realize that, like, the way people looked at the world back then was different. It wasn't that just life was different. People were different. And, like, what is acceptable to you wouldn't be acceptable to them. Like, if you tried to, like, go up to a 1940s woman and tell her, all right, go get a job. She's like, what the fuck you mean get a job? I don't want a job.
More like, hey, why don't you show a little ankle? Like, huh?
Ankle?
Ankle.
I ain't a brazen hussy.
Yeah, what's wrong? What do you think I am? A tosser? It's a tosser. I don't know. Want to get married, Nate? It's
but no, like if I'm not like a New York
for the
City,
welfare.
If I'm not a New York City resident, I can't get my New York City ID. I can't be a fireman. I can't get, like, let's say I needed to go on welfare in New York. I couldn't do that. I can't do any public. I can't work for the government, and I can't benefit from the government. Yes, I pay taxes in New York, but I need to file paperwork to prove that I'm a New York resident to qualify for any of the benefits that are specific to New York residents.
There's essentially like a point system, and all the items on the list are pointed or not pointed. Like, some you need like 3 forms of ID with your birth date on it.
Dude, I gotta go through that just to get a fucking learner's permit. Well, it wasn't that hard for me, but you know. But maybe because I mean, don't you guys get bills or
It's not even that. It's the amount of time that it takes and the amount of different offices that you need to go to. And the government doesn't care about your job. In the government's eyes, they're like, what do you mean you have to be at work at 3 in the afternoon on a Wednesday? That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why would you can't just come here? Like, they can't make reasonable appointments.
Yeah. Yeah. So what, you work Monday through Friday?
Well, no. Actually, I have a perfect job for a comedian.
Oh. Stripper?
No. I've worked in the restaurant industry since I was about 19 years old. And I've worked my way all the way up. I've been a sous chef. Oh. And after I did that, I was just like, I don't really like the whole chef thing, at least not in New York, because it's impossible. It's not just difficult, it's impossible to do what you need to do. It's just a constant game of catch-up where you never get to catch up. And I don't want to live my life that way. I don't want that stress on top of the stress of breaking into comedy.
Right.
So I was just like, I went to this other restaurant and I showed them my resume. I was like, this is all the experience I have. Technically, I could be a fucking manager here, but I don't want to do that. I want whatever you have available. And they were like, all right, so Mondays and Wednesdays, I come in overnight. I could get there whenever I want. As long as I'm gone by 11 in the morning, I could get there whenever I want. I come in overnight and I clean the whole restaurant.
Oh.
And then Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I work 10-hour shifts as a dishwasher.
Oh, okay.
And I make $14.50 an hour to do it.
So you're basically doing the jobs no other American wants to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, the Mexicans at work joke with me. They're like, dude, do you realize that you stole a job away from 2 Mexicans?
Yeah, no, right.
So, yeah, it is. I'm doing the jobs that Americans don't want to do. But, like, all 4 of my grandparents were immigrants. Well, 3 of my 4 grandparents were immigrants. So, like, I don't know. My dad grew up a level of poverty that most people don't even know exists in America. Like, he lived in a log cabin with his 4 brothers and sisters and his parents. He shared a bed with his brothers. They burned coal for heat.
And then
his dad just did odd jobs.
And one time, during one winter, they went and kidnapped a bunch of women, and they kept them there over the winter, and then they got married.
No.
7 Wives for My 7 Brothers.
Nothing like that.
That's an old movie. Old movie. Nobody gets it. Seven Wives for 7 Brothers.
I've never seen that. But no. Like, my dad grew up.
It's a very rapey. It's a very rapey movie. It's like they kidnapped the 7 brothers. They kidnapped these women to marry. This was like old, like Western, and this was supposed to be a love story back in the 40s.
Well, like, dude, people don't realize that, like, the way people looked at the world back then was different. It wasn't that just life was different. People were different. And, like, what is acceptable to you wouldn't be acceptable to them. Like, if you tried to, like, go up to a 1940s woman and tell her, all right, go get a job. She's like, what the fuck you mean get a job? I don't want a job.
More like, hey, why don't you show a little ankle? Like, huh?
Ankle?
Ankle.
I ain't a brazen hussy.
Yeah, what's wrong? What do you think I am, a tosser? It's a tosser, I don't know.
Go get a job. What, is there a war going on or something? But no, like, so I was raised with that sort of work ethic. I wasn't raised with an American work ethic. I was raised with an immigrant work ethic. So I don't give a fuck about doing Mexican jobs. I like it. And I get paid more than the Mexicans, which is actually really fucked up. Like, I'm not okay with that. Like, there are Mexicans who do the same job.
I would be.
I'm not. No, dude, there are Mexicans and Haitians who do the same job as me. They get $11 an hour. I get $14.50. That's not fucking fair.
And $11 an hour is not even minimum wage.
Mm-mm. Well, they ain't citizens.
Then
But they don't get taxed either.
Oh.
It's under the table.
Yeah.
So that it evens out.
Yeah, fuck them then. So, in that case, they probably get paid more than you.
I don't know, because what's taxes in New York? Like 20%?
Well, you're also forgetting they also take out federal, so, I mean...
I think, like, no, I think, like, just the New York state taxes that they take out is, like, something like 8%. But I think if you put it all together, it's
that's
like 20%.
sales tax. 8.5%. That's sales tax.
I think it's like 20% that they take out of your check.
At
Yeah.
max. Because even when I make, like, my commission checks and that, it's like 21% they take out max.
Yeah. So it's I don't think there's going to be that much of a difference between $11 and $14 when you take the taxes out.
I know they kill me with taxes.
But that's the more you make, the more you get taxed.
Yeah.
That's what fucking Democrats don't understand. They're like, we gotta tax rich people more. We already do. We already fucking do. It's just that really, really, really rich people don't pay any taxes because they own the judges. It's not like they're not getting taxed because that's the way the law's set up. They're not getting taxed because they're breaking the fucking law.
But and also the really, really rich could afford, they don't really feel it because they're only paying like 20 grand every 3 months, and it's like...
Well, they're not supposed to do that. Like, that's why rich people give to so many charities. For every charity they give to, they write off. And then they do weird shit like buy a farm. Like, there's this dude I was talking to. He's a lawyer, and he only gets to take home a third of his money because of how much he gets taxed. Makes like $100 grand a year. Only gets to take home a third of that. Damn. And then part of that goes to student loans. And he's got kids. So... his accountant told him, if you don't want to pay these much taxes, you have to buy a farm. And he's like, what the fuck? And it is like long, like 10-minute explanation about like how if you do some shit like that, it's kind of like money laundering, but it's a legal gray area where it's not technically illegal. You could.
Does he work the farm? Does he hire people to work the farm?
The farm doesn't even need to be operational. It's a front. Yeah, that's America. And that's how people like get to pay lower taxes.
I at least will be like growing like pears and some shit, and you know, sell it at a farmer's market. Hire some like Ecuadorians and shit because they're trustworthy. I don't know. I'm just making up shit. I don't know.
Ecuadorians are trustworthy.
Let's start that rumor.
Dude, speaking of fucking Ecuador, there's this kid. It always pisses me off whenever I see his act, because he starts his act by saying, oh yeah, I'm half Colombian and half Ecuadorian, and then he talks for like 5 minutes about the difference between Colombians and Ecuadorians, and he gets pissed off when people don't know the difference, and then he goes directly from that into like, I'm tired of white people being like, I'm part British and part Polish. Fuck you, you're just white. Like, alright, then fuck you, you're just Mexican. Like, you just did the same thing, and he doesn't realize it. Like, I talked to him about it, and even in a conversation about it, he doesn't know that he's being racist.
Well, yeah, like, you're talking to a Caribbean Spanish person. We're not big fans of the South Americans or the Mexicans. It's like honestly, and they hate us too.
Hmm?
They hate us too.
Oh,
like,
yeah, that's like... People think fucking racism is just a white thing. Fuck you. Go to Asia. Go to South America.
Oh, yeah.
Racism is specific. They're all the same color, and they hate each other based on what region you're from.
I don't think it's racism. I think it will be classified as nationalism.
Xenophobia?
Yeah, like nationalism. Or nationalists.
I think xenophobia would probably be the most accurate term.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
It's like, I am not Chinese, I am Japanese.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Chinese hate the Japanese because of what went on during the Pacific War.
Oh, yeah.
The Japanese are some cold-hearted, evil motherfuckers. They aren't anymore.
No.
Ever since the Trouble. But,
ever since, like, and you know what? You ever since the Trouble. You mean Nagasaki and Hiroshima?
Yeah.
That trouble?
Yeah, their attitudes got fixed somehow.
You saw that cartoon where we dropped the bomb on them and their skins melting off. That was the funniest comedy I've ever seen. Mommy.
Well, no, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that either because.
Kawaii.
But no, we did that shit to civilians. That's fucked up. If we did that shit to military leaders, if we did that shit to like emperors or fucking generals or whatever the fuck, cool. But we did that shit to civilians. Those were people that had nothing to do with war. They were just trying to live their lives and fucking. That's not cool.
In our defense, we couldn't tell the fucking difference.
That was a good one. Oh man. Oh boy. Alright, so now to the topic. We're like 20 minutes into this. Let's get to what I wanted to talk about.
Okay, sugar tits.
I'm kind of religious. I'm actually not religious. I'm like spiritual. No, I'm kind of religious. You're kind of religious.
Kinda. I'm experimenting.
There's a lot of people talking about Armageddon shit, and on one hand, it's like, yeah, you know, you hear that, you heard that with the Obama presidency, you heard that with the beginning of...
You always hear it.
You heard that with the beginning of the war in the Middle East. You hear it every couple of years, but I'm starting to see what people are talking about now, just in the way that, like, you can't communicate with people anymore. Even the way that you used to be able to 5 years ago, there's no discussion anymore.
Well,
it's just two people screaming their opinions at each other, regardless of what the other person says.
Well, it's written in the Bible. Men will be lovers of themselves, having no natural affection for one another. It's a what you call that? A prophecy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in it's
Revelation.
Yeah, it's in Revelation. And that whole book is about, like, what's going to happen to people when the world's about to end.
I mean, that's part of the reason why I hate the United Nations as much as
yeah, because it's a one world government.
It's a one world government.
Or it's not necessary. It's the basis if they wanted to make a one world government.
Well, at one point, the world's leaders will give up all power to the UN. It's prophecy.
Yeah.
And then.
But the UN isn't that powerful. Like the UN has had the US classified as war criminals for the past 11 years, and nothing has happened about it. Yet.
I mean, look, at one point, maybe when Trump is no longer in office, maybe shit will hit the fan because people are like, oh, we can't have this happen again. We need to get another Democrat in office, and that'll be the one that fucks everything up.
I do definitely think that they're probably going to amend the Constitution after this so that, like, not just anybody could be the president.
Either that or they'll take away, like, look what's happening in England. They're taking away freedom of speech.
Well, I don't think just anybody should be able to be the president. I don't think fucking...
Who cares? Why should anyone be better than anyone else? If I choose you, if like, hey, I want you to lead me. She's like, your girlfriend's laughing because she knows you suck in bed, and she's not defending you. So, just kidding. No, like, look, people chose Trump, and they liked what he had to say.
He lost by millions of votes.
Yeah, but half the country still voted for him.
Like a third of the country voted.
And honestly,
a third of the voters in the country,
and a lot of those votes,
and like a third of the country is voters. So
like
a sixth
a lot
of the country voted for him.
And I'm saying this while wearing a Hillary for Prison shirt, so I'm biased. So
anyway, yeah, Trump supporters, allow them or what? What were you gonna say?
Me, biased. I'm biased. So, like, look, I mean, we needed to try something different. Apparently, what was going on with Obama wasn't. We were getting deeper and deeper in a hole. We're still in these bullshit wars that, hopefully.
I think Obama was proof that you can't fix it, because I like him as a person. I don't like him as a president, but as a human being, I like him a lot.
Yeah,
but I think
I agree. He was kind of cool. He was cool.
No, he's a great guy. Like, if you listen to him talk, he's completely reasonable. He has great ideas. Like, his words go against what happened when he was in office, and that's proof that the president doesn't really do that much. Like, if you listen to him talk now about how he disagrees with the policies that were created while he was president.
Yeah, but how do you explain Trump actually accomplishing shit that he's promised?
None of that shit's gonna stick. It can all be overruled by the fucking Supreme Court.
Well, I mean, the big one, moving the embassy to Jerusalem, that was already law. They're not gonna override that.
Who cares?
True.
Who the fuck cares?
Still, it's a promise that was kept.
Oh,
that just and he's like proving a lot. He's doing a lot of shit that he's I can't fucking think today. So many freaking points coming to my head. Okay, first one. Enforcing the immigration laws. Now more minorities have jobs because they're being vacated by illegals. In fact, the black unemployment rate has dropped for the first time in many years.
I don't think we should have legal or illegal immigration here. Not everywhere, but here specifically.
Do you lock your
in the
door?
United States. I got guns. I'm good.
Okay then. You don't let people just willy-nilly walk in your house, right?
This is a specific reason for the United States. I think other countries, whatever their immigration laws are cool, but the United States shouldn't be allowed to do that because of our military policies, because of how we just go into any country, anywhere on earth, and destroy people's homes and leave. And we don't help them fix anything. Well, we help in our way, but our help is usually worse than what we did in the first place.
From a personal standpoint, Nate, as someone that talks shit on Facebook and pisses a lot of people off, do you think you keep your doors locked? The way you talk, you should keep your doors open and let somebody come in and fuck you up for talking shit, right?
No.
Okay then.
But I didn't.
Why the hell should we leave our doors open?
That's a false equivalency.
I'm
If I went into somebody's house and I just like smashed their fucking TV out and fucking broke all their windows and fucked their wife and then left, and they wanted to come to my house and beat me up, that would be okay. That would be fair.
You'll let someone in your house to fuck you up, even if you did something?
I wouldn't let them do it, but it would be fair for them to do it.
Yeah. I mean, look, you have a point. We shouldn't be fucked. Like, you know, and this is why I wish we would have elected Ron Paul. You know, because Ron Paul was always talking about non-interventionism, getting hell out of people's countries, and stop messing with them, because a lot of the shit that we're facing is blowback, and I do believe that some of it is blowback.
That's
so
true.
You know, but
on
nobody.
a deeper level than that,
Yeah.
all of our anti-immigration, it's not anti-immigration, it's anti-Mexican. We don't give a fuck about British immigrants. We don't give a fuck about Slovak immigrants. We don't give a fuck. We don't give a fuck about the Indian immigrants. You know how many Chinese people there are here, undocumented, that nobody's ever going to deport because they're after Mexicans? Yeah, they only give a shit about Mexicans. But here's the weird thing about that: we stole 30% of our country from Mexico, and we stole it. We stole it. The treaty
they lost it. They lost it in the war.
The Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was a trick. They thought that they were signing a document to give us Texas. They didn't understand exactly how much land they were losing in that agreement. It was a trick. We stole it.
Hey, look, as someone that signed the contract with Sprint and got fucked over by Sprint, you know, shit happens.
Yeah, but okay, we still stole it. We're on their land.
You know,
illegally.
I owe them.
But if fair is fair, if you want to be fair about things, we're actually on their land illegally. And people always talk about the dangers of Mexican immigration. 2 people have ever snuck into America and committed a terrorist act over one of our borders, and they snuck in from Canada.
Okay, what about
why don't we build a wall around Canada?
True. But Canada also has a very tough immigration
They
law.
have the strictest immigration policies in North America.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
And they have more U.S. illegal immigrants than we have Mexican illegal immigrants.
And aren't they kicking us out?
No, they've given up trying.
Pussies. So, they giving up trying. Why? Are they fucking caribou? Like, what's going on?
Because it's fucking Canada, man. They're just fucking, I don't know. They're more concerned with telling people how to talk.
Yeah, I know, right? I know, right?
I don't know, man. But I don't know. It's weird because on one hand, I do see the Armageddon prophecies being fulfilled, but on the other hand, it's a statistical fact that we're at the single safest point in all of recorded human history.
Okay, and it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because another prophecy in Revelation is like when they start talking about safety and when the world leaders start talking about safety and security, that's when the end will come.
Mm-hmm. Well, the U.S. has always been about safety and security.
No, but saying that we now have world peace, and that's when everything is going to collapse, and that's when they'll start going after false religions. They'll start dissolving countries.
Well, that's what's happening now. Being offended is becoming this microaggression shit is a religion.
Yeah.
Now, I grew up. I'm a pastor's kid.
Oh.
My father is a minister, so
Yeah.
I grew up around hardcore religion.
Yeah,
I mean like Baptist religion, hand on the head, let the Holy Spirit into your body, demons be gone, and people fall over and everybody cries. I grew up around that shit, and I don't see one solitary difference between that and this microaggression culture.
Well, as someone that grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, I mean, as a kid, I went door to door knocking.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm still, I'm taking Bible studies again. Just, you know, and which is funny because I was talking to this girl that I matched with on Tinder, and we had similar. We grew up in similar ways.
Yeah.
And I told her I'm taking study. She's like, "Oh, I can't deal with this. I can't. That's a deal breaker." Like, wait a minute. So most guys, they're experimenting with, fucking a tranny, fucking another dude. Me, I'm experimenting with Jesus.
Yeah.
And that's a deal breaker?
And that is weird. Like, that these people, like, they claim to be so tolerant and so open-minded. But if you even say, like, okay, I'm not an American Christian. Like, I don't believe in the way that Americans believe in Jesus, but I believe in Jesus. Even that is like, well, that I don't like that, and you can't be that. That's not good for...
Oh, yeah.
But what if I was fucking Muslim? That would be fine with you. What's the difference? Muslims believe in Jesus. I don't know if you know that, but
Yeah,
their
do.
book is based off of Christianity. That's not true. I have a Quran. Do you?
Yeah, well, Jesus is the most quoted prophet in the Quran.
Yeah, and there's a whole book of Mary. A lot of the books from the Bible are expanded upon in the Quran. I have one. I've read it. So it's... You'll be accepting of them, but you don't even know what they believe.
Yeah.
And you don't know what Christians believe either, because American Christians don't know what Christians believe. If American Christians knew what Christians believed, they would not take any political stances.
Yeah, because like most Christian religions here in the U.S., they don't crack open the Bible. They just leave it up to, like, hell, Joel Osteen.
Mm-hmm. He's not a fucking Christian. He's a businessman.
Yeah, I mean, even he's
a fucking capitalist.
He writes books supposedly about God.
He's a self-help guru.
Yeah, he admitted that he's never cracked open the Bible. So how the fuck do you know about God when you haven't even cracked open the book that, supposedly God wrote?
And you'll be like on all this shit about like homosexuality is an abomination. It doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible at all once. No, it doesn't. Paul says that. Paul is a rabbi. He's not Jesus. He's not God. His writings aren't scripture. The Talmud. The writings specifically about Jesus and his life.
Men who lie with men will not enter into the kingdom of heaven in 1 Corinthians.
That's Talmud.
But that's the New Testament. It's in the Bible.
It's Talmud. It's not
the
same thing.
The Talmud is the first 5 books of the Bible.
No. That's
the Pentateuch.
No, that's the Torah. Is the first 5 books of the Bible. Torah is the Hebrew word that means law. Talmud is a rabbi's commentary. And Paul was a rabbi. That's an important thing to recognize about Christianity. It's not its own religion. It is Judaism. Christianity is a type of Judaism. And that's what's wrong with Christians. They don't practice it as Judaism. But Paul was a rabbi appointed by Jesus to be one of his chief rabbis after he died. Jesus was the chief rabbi. And he appointed Paul to be his successor. So all of Paul's writings, those letters to the churches... Well,
rabbi just means teacher.
Yeah, but those letters to the churches, those were just letters to churches. That was just his commentary on the religion. He wasn't speaking from a point of like, God came to me in a dream and told me this. He was speaking as a rabbi to specific churches. They weren't meant to be published in the Bible. Like Paul and the apostles didn't put the Bible together. Somebody else did that 1,000 years later.
But Paul was a Christian. He was a Christian.
I know, but what I'm saying is by the time somebody put all these books together, they had already abandoned Judaism. Christianity had become a separate thing, and it no longer was Judaism. And in Judaism, we separate Talmud from Scripture. That's not to say that Talmud is useless. It's just to say that Scripture is the divine word of God. Talmud is someone who is in close connection with God, but we understand that it's their opinion about what they believe he would want. And here's the important thing to understand about Paul. Paul didn't speak Hebrew. And the Torah is written in Hebrew. And at the point in time that he was alive, there was one translation available at all into Greek, which he spoke. And that was called the Septuagint. It was figured out 300 years after Paul died that the Septuagint bears only a 45% resemblance to the actual Torah scrolls in Hebrew. And for comparison, our modern Torah scrolls and books that Jews read from today bear a 98% accuracy. So it was far off. And the problem with the translations is that Hebrew is a very confusing language to translate. It's like trying to translate Mandarin Chinese into English. You can get it close, but because of how different it is, you're not going to get it down exactly. And a very common thing in Eastern culture, it's existed for all of time and it still does now, wealthy people and important people fuck little boys. You know about that? Like, that's actually, like, still practiced in the Middle East and shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they all rape little boys.
Yeah.
So, when they were translating from Hebrew into Greek, every time a passage would come up that would say, don't fuck little boys, they just translated it as men should never lie with other men. So in Paul's entire life, aside from his contact with Jesus, who never spoke a single word about homosexuality, aside from that, the only religious doctrine that he ever read was this inaccurate representation of what he was supposed to be following. So I don't think that Paul's writings are useless, because he was a very deep thinker and he said a lot of very valuable things, but I don't think that they should be accepted as scripture, because they're not. They're Talmud. It's a rabbi's commentary.
Well, if God didn't want it in the Bible, it wouldn't have ended up in the Bible.
Okay, then why is there an Apocrypha? I hear a lot of Christians make that argument, but there's an Apocrypha. There are several books that were removed from the Bible, and they were in there for hundreds of years, which means generations of people lived and died believing that they were the true books of the Bible. So are we to believe that God just thought to himself, fuck these generations? So if it's happened before and you agree with the books that we took out, that we should have taken them out.
Well, I haven't read those, so I would need.
But there are people who do believe that. So, God wouldn't let a false book in the Bible. Okay, then let's put those back in. Well, they're false books, but they were in the Bible. So it's a self-defeating fucking argument.
Right. All right. Well, look, I would have to look into that, because I did know that the Catholic Church did have the whole. I forgot the name of that whole.
It was the apocryphal trials.
Yeah.
The Jews had them too. They just didn't take any books out. They considered taking Esther out because it's the only book in the entire Bible that doesn't mention God once, but it's about the long period between the great kings and the birth of Jesus, when Jews didn't have a really. It's kind of alluded in the old Hebrew texts, in what we would call the Old Testament, in the Jewish Bible. It's alluded that people had a physical connection with God. It wasn't like the sort of connection that you would have today. It was like an audible voice that speaks to you. And at some point in a prehistoric era, that went away. And people started to lose their faith a lot after that went away. And Esther is about that period of time, but it doesn't mention God at all. It just mentions the struggle of the Jews who kept their faith during that period. And they considered taking that out, but they left it in because of the impact that the book has on the Jewish religion.
And I kind of have a theory about why that happened, why God stopped talking to us audibly. Because the further we are away from Adam and Eve, the further away from...
You believe that's a real story?
Yeah.
Oh, well, anyway, continue. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, I mean, we all share the same gene. In fact, they especially in African women or African American, black women, they found the Eve gene.
Well, yeah, all of humanity comes from Africa.
Yeah.
White people are just Africans that went up to mountains and stayed there.
Yeah.
But the Eve gene, what is that?
The Eve gene is basically the gene, goodness, off the top of my head, I forgot, but it's a gene that almost all black women carry, that links us all together. I mean, if you look deep, we're all the same species. We're the same. I mean, I don't care what color you are, where you come from.
Well, I mean, you could say the same thing about all primates, though. Like, we all carry genes that link us all together. Like, there's not too much genetic difference between bonobos, chimpanzees, and humans. We're all pretty much the same fucking thing. More hair, less hair, better
bonobos,
posture.
that always sounded like an ethnic slur to me.
It does.
I don't want my daughter to date no goddamn bonobo.
I actually love bringing up bonobos. It's cool that you mentioned homosexuality, because You love to hear Christians say that homosexuality isn't natural. Bonobos the males are not sexually selective at all. At all. They will fuck anything. And if they go to a girl and all the girls in their community don't want to fuck, they'll just go to a guy and the guys will fuck each other. If they get into an argument, they don't like conflict, they suck each other's dicks to solve the shit. That's bonobos. You see that dog right there?
Bunch of queer ass.
You see that dog?
Yeah.
He fucks boy dogs.
Oh, wow.
He prefers to fuck boy dogs. He's been around girl dogs. He doesn't show as much interest as he does in fucking boy dogs in the ass. So all of these Christians always homosexuality isn't no. But they all say homosexuality isn't natural. You don't see that in other animals. I beg to differ.
All right.
You do. And like if
I mean, you saw my face just now when you was like, yeah, they suck each other's dick like her.
If homosexuality isn't natural too, if God made humans and He made us perfect exactly the way He wanted, then
we're not perfect anymore.
But He made us physically, our bodies are the way He wanted them to be.
Yes.
Only men have a prostate. Now I understand the prostate regulates certain things that men would need it to, but why does it give you an orgasm? If God made you and God made you perfect the way He wanted, and He didn't do anything wrong, why did He put a gland in only men's assholes that gives you orgasms when it's stimulated? Riddle me that.
Maybe it helps relax yourself when you shit.
Women don't have it. Women shit.
Well, I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I'm not.
Well, it's a valid question. I'm not a doctor either, and I'm not saying it means anything like I don't one way or the other. But if dudes aren't supposed to fuck each other in the ass, why is there a gland that only men have that makes it feel good to get fucked in the ass?
If that's the case, like why are men so fucking butt ass ugly to me then?
I actually have a theory that.
Why am I attracted to women with why am I attracted to bodies with vaginas and hips and tits and okay, I like like Ashley Graham or Iskra Lawrence. Google it.
I have a theory that everyone is bisexual, just at a base level when you're born and nobody tells you anything, and you don't have any like prerequisites. Mm-hmm. You're just bisexual, and then. Through living in society, you kind of get this idea that you have to pick one. You can't just be bisexual. Like, some people are just like, fuck that. They're more rebellious, and they're like, I don't know, pick one.
In the words of Gavin McGinnis, he says, hey, being bisexual is a phase because you never see no elderly bisexual guys.
I don't know. I don't agree with it. I think everyone's just bisexual, and then like you get this idea that you have to pick one.
Well, if that's the case, I made my choice, and I'm damn happy with my choice.
Yeah, no, dude, I picked women, too. I'm not saying that...
I thought you were hitting on me. I was getting...
I'm not saying that I'm any different. I'm a human being, and I grew up in this culture, so it's influenced the way that I think. Yeah. But I'm saying I don't know if that's a naturally occurring thing, or if it's just a societal thing. Because, like I said, in Eastern cultures, you have a wife, but you still fuck little boys, even if you're a straight guy. You fuck little boys, and that's completely normal. They don't think it's gay.
How do they get around that shit, though?
Exactly. Yeah. Priests fuck little boys. They don't think it's gay. So it's...
Yeah, but we think it's wrong. Like, it's like, you can't be messing with children. I mean...
you can't.
I mean, that's the thing. If there's anything personally I would ever go to jail for, like, I don't care if you're two grown men and you're holding hands, mazel tov. Like, I'm not even gonna give it a second look. Live.
Don't get the wrong idea, man. I'm not condoning pedophilia.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
I'm just saying. That's where I fucking join.
I'm saying that.
I might make jokes about it because fuck it. I make jokes about everything. But if I saw that shit in real life, I'm gonna be the first. Not the first, but I'll be a pedo basher in a second.
All I'm saying is that historically and internationally, bisexuality is a lot more common and a lot more accepted. Mm-hmm. And it's just
which is why we brought our asses here to the real world because we got tired of them faggots. It's like, yo, they acting like quiz of it. Nah, son, hop on the boat. Santa Maria, forget.
So you're not attracted to any men. I'm not saying you would fuck a man. I'm not saying you would fuck a man, but you never look at a guy like George fucking Clooney and like, wow, he is really handsome.
Like, not sexually, more in the, I got to do that for me. I want to be like him.
You've never had a single sexual thought about a man in
No.
your entire life.
No.
Ever.
Ever.
You've never considered it.
No.
You didn't even go through like I don't know.
I lost my virginity at 12. So.
All right, that makes more sense. I don't know, but I went through this
Like
phase in puberty
I
where
was like honestly, I was freaking had my first crush with my teacher in kindergarten.
No, I was always like sexual and I always liked women, but I went through this phase in puberty where I was like, I don't know if I'm gay or not, and I guess there's no way to know unless I entertain the idea a little bit. And I would like look at fucking dudes and like try to jack off to pictures of dudes and like see what it did for me, see how I I felt it out.
No, not really, especially since, you know, I've seen pussy and I liked what the pussy looked like, and growing up, going into school, you see all, like, I like, in New York City, there's, like, all these, like, ethnic chicks with, like, nice, shapely asses and stuff, and I'm like, yeah.
Well, I always knew I liked women, but I was like, I want to give this a chance. And I think a lot of guys do that, and they just aren't honest about it. I'm not saying go all the way to the point of sucking another dude's dick. I'm saying look at some pictures and see how they make you feel. I think a lot of guys do that, and they don't want to be honest about it.
Well, no, because
they don't think it's normal.
I never really had to do that because the thought of that, the whole idea, you know, because, you know, every guy questions it. Could I be gay? And then it's like, 2-3 seconds, nah. And it's like the whole thought, like, okay.
Well, I'm not a nag guy. If you've noticed anything about the way that I talk to people and the way that I solve problems, and like, I am a results person.
Yeah.
Like, I'm never just like, well, I think I have to find out for sure.
Right. Like, no, it's like I never. Maybe it could be because of the way I was raised, or, you know, I mean, I am Caribbean. If my father would have even had an inkling.
Oh yeah, no, dude,
Yeah.
I would have gotten the shit beaten out of me if my dad found out I was even looking at pictures. I would have gotten smacked into next Tuesday.
Like, no, I'm not even talking about smack. My father would have killed me and started over. Like, he wouldn't. Like, there's no. Ooh, I don't even want to think about it. but I never really had that question. Really had that desire, because I've always looked at women, you know, and I'm like, hey, I'm like, I still remember my first crush, Miss Gladys.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully she's listening to this podcast if you're single. Because I know this goes off everywhere.
Oh yeah, no, we have about 100 loyal listeners.
Ah, yes.
So we're not big, but we're popular with our fan base.
Ah, very good.
So,
Yeah.
but no, all right, never fucked a dude. I've kissed dudes, made out with dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it doesn't make me feel as weird as I thought it would. And I don't think I would ever let a dude fuck me. But if a really handsome guy, like a Ryan Gosling type, was like, hey, I want to suck your dick, I'd be okay with that.
Dog's back. He's like, everyone's here. The dog just pushed the door open.
But yeah, like I ain't about having stuff in my ass. I think that would take a little bit of warming up.
Yeah.
But if Ryan Gosling or like some really handsome guy like that was like, I want to suck your dick, I'd be like, yeah, we could do that. That's agreeable. So I think that's the level of questioning.
I'm just smiling and nodding.
Yeah.
Like,
so you're not on that page.
no, like, honestly, well, look, when I was in a coma like 5 years ago, they and I made this into a joke. Like, they, you know, I had double pneumonia. They put me in a coma for like 2 weeks, and I was having a hallucination that I was in a same-sex marriage. And honestly, it was the most loving relationship I have ever been in.
Mm-hmm.
So and honestly, it kind of spoiled me because I can't stop thinking about Donovan.
So that's a true story.
Well, it's a joke, yeah. I mean, but it was like, why am I in the same sex? But I knew I wasn't gay, and when I came out of it, I saw the nurse, and you know, was like, hey, how you doing? She's cute Asian girl. That's her.
What if you did find a guy and you felt that way? Like, what if just hypothetically, like, what if you were, like, out at a bar and you met a guy and you started hanging out and you had a little bromance together, but then you started to have different feelings, and
I don't know.
would you pursue them?
Probably not.
What if it tore you up? Like, what if they didn't go away and they just got stronger the longer you ignored them?
Like,
Would you stop talking to them?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've never, like, honestly, there have been men that I bonded with who are like my brother.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I had one of my best friends. Him and his wife came to visit me with their daughter, and he's like a brother to me, and now she's like a sister to me, and now, his daughter's like my little niece. So it's like I have very close male friends.
I'm saying, but like, what if you did develop those feelings? How would you deal with that?
I don't know. I can't say.
You never put yourself in that position? See, I like to think about those things. I like to consider that.
Like, why?
Because I like to consider everything.
Yeah.
All the fucking time.
Like, because I'm so secure in my sexuality, in knowing I know who I am. I know who I am, and I know who I want to be.
Well, that's how I look at it, too. Like, I'm really secure in my sexuality enough to, like, if I did try it out, and it wasn't for me, I would be okay enough with myself to be like, okay, it doesn't mean that I'm weird that I did that.
Yeah. I think, but the thing is, when it comes to me, I think the idea of me being gay is so ridiculous that it is laughable.
Mm-hmm.
And I do jokes. I make jokes like that. I make people.
See, I constantly think that I might be gay.
Yeah.
I'm on the other end of that.
Yeah. Are you trying to tell me something, Nate?
You're not my type.
Fuck you.
I like pretty boys.
Oh, motherfucker! I'm offended now. I'm gonna suck your dick just to prove a point. Fat people try harder. Nah, let me stop.
You got a tongue piercing?
No, I'm not a whore.
No deal.
I ain't no fucking thought. Oh man, how did I know that it was gonna end up like this?
All right, so this was a long tangent, but yeah, you'll hear a lot of Christians say that homosexuality is an abomination. It doesn't really say that in the Bible. Jesus never said that. Jesus never spoke a word about it. But
maybe it didn't come up.
But Jesus did tell you constantly to love your neighbors and to give more than you have. And if somebody takes your jacket, give them your shirt too. Turn the other cheek. Told us all that shit. And you won't be Christian that way.
Well, look, because
that's harder.
True, but there are times that I have helped out.
I'm not saying you specifically. I'm saying
I'm saying, but because Jesus also said, "You fed me when I was hungry. You clothed me when I was naked."
Yeah, what you've done for the least of these.
Yeah, you've done for me. And honestly, I see some people who call themselves Christians that'll help out their brothers. They'll help out other people. Maybe if they view homosexuality as a sin, which personally I do. Will I go out and protest at their funerals? Would I wish them death? No, because I've had two very close friends who are gay. One of them gave me a job as doing voiceover for his podcast. You can check it out. Time for him. Plug. And another one, may he rest in peace. He was a Vietnam vet. His name was Pat DeLillo. He taught me how to fight. In fact, he was hilarious because he's like, I can't stand these Twinkie motherfuckers. And he was gayer than a $3 bill. Like, he used to talk about graphic how he used to like fucking dudes. He was a tough motherfucker.
Well, a lot of those dudes in Vietnam did fuck dudes in the ass. I mean, you're away for a fucking year. Yeah. Longer, no pussy. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I don't hate gays. I'm not, I'm just, it's just not my thing.
Let me hit you with this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give a shout out to my church real quick. I go to Potter's House. It's in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. If you're ever in New York, check it out. Small congregation, but it's a great church. The pastor is gay. Okay. Her wife is the choir director. They run the church together.
Are they hot?
No.
Are they those lipstick lesbians you hear so much about?
No, man, they're like motherly figures to me. It's not.
Damn it.
But
Damn it.
These women
And
have an
then
amazing church.
Yeah.
And they give all their money back to the community. Like, they rent out a tiny little storefront and have church there.
Mm-hmm.
And they give all their money back to the community, to Bed-Stuy, who needs it. And I felt more of a presence of God in that church than I have in any other church that I've ever been in. Most of the time, when I go to church, it makes me feel sick. It makes me feel disgusting. Like, this is blasphemy in America, like American churches. But this church, I felt this really close connection with God, and like, this is only about love. This is only about like people accepting each other and being graceful and loving each other the way that they're supposed to.
Yeah.
And that's all the message is geared to.
Well, in the name of Milo, and
And they're
words,
gay.
yeah, in the words of Milo Yiannopoulos, there's no such thing as lesbianism. They
Just
just
got tired of dick.
yeah, they just fooling themselves. They
Well, how do you feel about that? How could these two sinful lesbians give me such a strong presence of the Lord in sin at church? Open lesbians, married, adopted daughter.
I can't answer that. I don't know. I mean, it's maybe your own personal preference.
But everyone who goes there feels it.
Yeah.
I brought people who aren't even Christian and don't believe in that, and they're like, "No, I feel that."
Well, I don't know. I mean, the power of suggestion is fantastic. I can't explain it. I don't know what, like, without having gone there and experienced it for myself and understood,
Well, go there on Sunday, motherfucker.
Yeah. Well, I work Sundays, and plus, I already have my own.
Can't take time off for Jesus.
And plus, I have my own faith that I subscribe to, that I'm very happy with, that I grew up in, and honestly, where I feel fulfilled. And I want to, and honestly, I'm just testing that out to see how that goes. I mean, the only reason why I'm not a full blast, I'm not a baptized Jehovah's Witness now, is because it's hard work. It's a lot of hard work. I mean, because it's not, being a good Jehovah's Witness is not like being a good Catholic, going to church like once a year. You got like, it's a lot of studying. You're going to 2 to 3 meetings a week.
Well, the way I practice Christianity is not the way that most Christians do.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really go to church that much. Like, I did when I lived in Brooklyn. I was close to my church.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that's as important a part as, like, doing what you're supposed to do. So, like, it says in the Bible to tithe. I don't think that means giving money to a fucking building so they could build a new steeple. I think that means giving money to the homeless people, like what you were talking about, what you've done for the least of these. So, like, every week I get paid, I take, like, 30% of my money, and I just give it periodically to homeless people on the street. Buy you a fucking meal, give you $10, and I'll sit down and talk to them, too. I don't just give them fucking money and walk away. They're out there all day by themselves, and most people treat them like shit for no reason. So I'll sit down and have a conversation with them and make them feel human for a little while.
Yeah.
And I think that's what being a real Christian is about. It's not about going to church. It's not about reading the fucking literature and studying. I mean, that's important. You do have to read the Bible to know what it's about.
Yeah.
But it's not about, like, okay, once you've read it and you know what it's about, you don't have to fucking thumb through the whole thing again from the beginning. Like, go out there and apply that to your life. That's what being a Christian
Well, yeah,
is.
I mean, with Jehovah's Witnesses is like, yeah, you read the Bible and then you also apply it, but you keep reading it over and over and over again. Just so that way you keep it fresh. Mm-hmm. You keep it fresh, you meditate on it, and, it's not just a one-time thing. You're constantly studying because, hey, you might pick up something you missed the first, second, third, fourth, over and over. So I mean, it is hard work. It's a lot of hard work to be to be an actual good Christian.
Well, it's because it's thankless work. It's because
why do you need to be thanked?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You don't need. That's the entire idea. Like you're
you're
a
right.
human being. Everything you do, you want people to pat you on the back for it. But the entire idea of this is that you have to do good things and keep it to yourself.
Yeah, don't
you have to do good things.
Don't let your left hand know what your right hand is doing.
Yeah. So you have to do all this shit, and then you can't seek any congratulations for it.
Exactly.
So it's basically just defying every instinct that you have, defying every part that makes you human. That's what being a Christian, and that's why there is forgiveness. That's why there's like people like, oh, it's bullshit. You just say you're sorry and then it's okay. Well, yeah, you realize how often you fuck up.
It's not just saying you're sorry though. It's not just saying you're sorry.
You have to actually be sorry.
You actually have to be sorry and not do it again.
Yeah.
You have to acknowledge what you did was wrong and understand that how it was wrong and just not do it again.
Yeah,
because you can't say
most Christians don't do that.
Like honestly, if I like, you know, what's the worst thing I could do to you? Like if I fucked your girl, dude, Nate, I'm sorry. I won't. You know, I don't mean to do. You catch
and then
me
you
doing
do it again next week.
It's like the fuck. Like you're kicking my ass.
Yeah, and that's a lot of like. People don't get like the old question like, oh, so if Hitler repented at the last minute, he went to heaven?
No.
Yeah. Well, no, if he like really felt bad and he was like, oh shit, I fucked up, and all of that came
Well, first
down
of all, I don't
minute.
believe in an immortal soul. So.
Oh, you don't?
No. Once you die, you die.
Oh.
Yeah. Like.
Well.
Yeah, I mean because there is a resurrection after Armageddon. God will resurrect the faithful and the unfaithful, and they will have to prove themselves if they get to stay.
Yeah, because it says in Revelation that heaven and hell don't exist yet.
Well, I mean, look, there's no such thing as there's no such thing as hell. It makes no sense.
Well, no.
Yeah.
The Book of Revelation says like it basically breaks it down like purgatory is what exists now. Like you basically go to a waiting area spiritually when you die. And then after Armageddon and everything, then heaven will be created and earth will become hell. Like what you understand as hell.
That's not how I learned it.
Yeah, it's in Revelation.
Yeah, I mean...
Jesus stomps baby heads and stuff. It's crazy.
What?
Yeah.
Where in Revelations is this?
Dude, read it over again. There's some crazy shit in there. There's like a 7-headed sea serpent and
yes. Shit. That's represent... The 7-headed dragon is represent that's the UN.
Yeah.
That's the United Nations.
And that's actually one of the points I make to people who are like, oh, I don't believe the Bible. Well, they didn't even know that there were 7 continents yet back then.
Yeah. Oh, they didn't know that the earth was round.
Yeah, and that's in the Bible too.
Yeah.
And also, like, I don't believe in Adam and Eve. That was actually something we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
Like, you believe that they were real people.
Yeah.
I think that whole thing, the beginning of Genesis, is a really complex way to describe science to people who hadn't invented shoes yet. If you think about it that way, it makes a lot of sense.
Then how does sin enter into this world?
Here.
All right.
I got this.
All right, you got it.
So, if we follow Genesis, what it says, there was an explosion. Let there be light. Not talking about the sun, not talking about the moon. Those come along in verses 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm.
Not talking about the sun, not talking about the moon. Let there be light. That's the first thing. There was an explosion. After the explosion, everything floated around in chaotic nothingness until there was the sun. And then after there was the sun, there were planets. Mm-hmm. And after there were planets, there was a perfect planet. And on that perfect planet, a piece chipped off and became a satellite, the moon. And after that happened, all of the perfect conditions ensued to create fish. After fish, there were animals. After animals, there were humans. That's what Genesis says, precisely. And that's also what science says. There was the Big Bang, and then, conditions created stars, and stars spawned planets, blah, 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 blah. It's just a more simple way of explaining that in Genesis, because these people hadn't even invented fucking shoes yet. And then it goes further into that. Like, it says in the Bible that God created fish, then he created animals, then he created humans. That's evolution. There were fish, evolved into
So you-
land
so you're
mammals,
saying
and
God-
then land mammals evolved
So you're
into
saying that
humans
evolution
eventually.
and God are not mutually exclusive?
Exactly. I'm saying that was a way to explain the Big Bang and evolution to really stupid people. Now we get down to the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. There are innumerable scientists who adhere to the stoned ape theory, which is that in the Pleistocene forests, there's a point in time where the entire world was a rainforest. And after that, that's why coal exists, because all of that soil didn't get a chance to really dry before new soil grew over it, and then it was compressed and still wet, and then that after millions of years that becomes coal. So during that period of time, when it stopped raining all the time and the water was drying out of the soil, for the first time these apes could come down from the trees. And when they came down from the trees, they ate new things that they never ate before, living all the way up in the trees. And one of those things that they never ate before was psilocybin mushrooms. And the effect that the psilocybin had on these primitive ape brains expanded their ability to use the brains that they had until they surpassed that and their brains started growing. And then those apes, over time, became humans. And psilocybin is a very deeply introspective drug. It causes you to consider the world and yourself and your surroundings in ways that you never have before. A lot of people, when they say, like, oh, I had a bad trip, what that means is you're a shitty person and you never really realized it before, and you took mushrooms and you're like, wow, I'm not nice to people. That's what a bad trip is. And I think that those psilocybin mushrooms that expanded these ape brains to become humans were the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil. And now, before then, we were just a primitive species operating purely on instinct, doing whatever we had to do to survive. Once we ate the mushrooms and our brains expanded and we became intelligent life forms, we had a choice. We had our instincts. They were still there. But we knew if our instincts were causing us to do something that was morally reprehensible. And we could defy our instincts to do what we knew was morally correct and morally just.
Mm-hmm. But
now
then where did morals come from?
Exactly. That's where God comes in.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Science and God do not have to compete with each other. You're not understanding that, okay, the Bible, the Genesis, was first written down on non-perishable materials 5,000 years ago. It was first written down on perishable materials 10,000 years ago. And before that, it was transmitted by word of mouth for nobody fucking knows how long. So it might be the oldest religion in human history. We don't know, because we have no way of knowing how long it was transmitted by mouth before it was ever written down. So this just goes back forever. And these people figured out amazing things that they had no way of knowing, like the fact that the Earth is round thousands of years ago. And if you line up evolution, the Big Bang, and the stoned ape theory, and you line up the book of Genesis, it is a 100% match if you open your mind a little bit and read it as a metaphor rather than a literal story. Because a lot of the Bible is metaphors. So it's not crazy to assume that one is too. Like, there's no fucking Jonah. That's not a real story. There was no guy who lived in a whale's stomach. That's a metaphor. And most Jews understand that. Like Moses, that was a real person. Abraham, Jesus, these are real people. But like Jonah and Job and Adam and Eve, those are just literary devices to help you understand a really complex idea. No. Because it's not even consistent with the rest of the Bible, like the places that are mentioned and shit. You see a lot of character crossover in the rest of the Bible and shit. You don't see any of that there.
No. Yeah, it's like okay.
It's a standalone.
It's like a MCU.
What's that?
The Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Oh, yeah.
So.
I don't know. What do you think about all that nonsense I just said?
Well, I mean, hey, it's good to think about. Do I believe it? Probably not. Will I look into it? Probably. But it's. I still believe that there was an Adam and Eve. I mean, because there's a lot of lessons to be learned from the fall of Adam and Eve.
See, I believe that was just a literary device for the fall of humanity. And I think that the story of Cain and Abel is a literary device to explain the beginning of warfare.
Yeah.
Like, warfare didn't exist in the beginning. There was at some point there had to be a first couple of people who did that.
Right.
And I think that's what Cain and Abel is, explaining, this is what humanity's going to do forever. And it's just...
Yeah, but then how did sin enter into the world? That's the thing.
That's the thing. Sin always existed. You're not reading the story correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Sin always existed. The difference was that after the fruit of the knowledge of good and evil, you had a choice. Before, there wasn't a choice. You just did what you did, and you didn't consider it. Now you understand the difference between making a good decision and making a bad decision, and you have to live with that.
Yeah, but the point is, God said, do not eat from it. You can eat from anything else, just not from there.
Mm-hmm.
But they ate from it anyways. And he did say, if you ate from here, you will certainly die, because we weren't meant to grow old and die.
You think humans were supposed to be like infinite beings?
Yes. I mean, really look at us. Look at the biology.
Now again,
we regenerate. We regenerate until like a certain age. Scientists can't even explain why we grow old and die still. They might have some theories on telomeres and whatnot, but they don't know why those shrivel up. But they understand that that's associated with longevity.
Well, the only animals that don't die are sea creatures. Like lobsters can live for infinity if nothing kills them. But those are like really primitive dinosaur sea creatures are the only ones that can live infinitely.
Yeah, but we were made not. Death is repugnant to God. That's why there's a resurrection. That's why we're going to live.
Now, are you sure that can't be just a metaphor for humanity? Like, humanity was never supposed to have to end. We were never supposed to have to...
No, because through sin, death into this world. Death is not a creation of God. Why would God create something to die? It makes no sense.
What about every other animal?
Every other animal is not human.
Okay, and we weren't really human until we ate the mushrooms, so...
Well, that's your interpretation. I believe that God created each animal to its kind. He created man in his image.
Well, the only thing that separates us from chimpanzees is the mushrooms.
Then why did Jesus die for us? Why was there...
But that was after the fact. But I'm saying the only thing that separates us from chimpanzees is that knowledge of good and evil. Right. That's it. That is it.
Yeah, but I'm just saying because Jesus died for our sins, because he was paying for the ransom that Adam brought into this world. So that way we have hope. So that way we can finally be forgiven for our sin.
No, I'm not saying that story is necessarily untrue. I'm just saying, why can't Adam be society? Why does it have to be one individual? Like, why can't it be a simpler way to...
That's just what it is.
Well, if you read the rest of the Bible, it's very poetic. The Old Testament, especially, it's very poetic in the way that it's written. There's a lot of complex literary devices that play.
Some of it is straightforward. Some of it, like especially Jesus likes to speak in illustrations.
Yes.
But,
well, I mean, even further back in the Old Testament, there's a lot of very...
Daniel, he spoke in illustrations.
Moses too.
Yeah.
And Moses is the first person who would have actually written Genesis down. Like, it existed before he was born, but he was the first person who would have taken all of these ideas and all of these stories and actually figured out a way to put them to paper and give them to people. So, and he was a very poetic person himself. So it's not too far out of reason that he would have taken some artistic license, because he founded what is known as the Jewish nation. Like, before that, they were just slaves. They weren't really unified in any sort of way. He unified Judaism. So he understood these people. He understood how to appeal to them, and he had a lot of experience in trying different methods to get them to understand what he was talking about, because he failed for a long time getting through to them. If you read the book of Exodus, most of it is just him not knowing how to convey these messages properly and people misinterpreting them or disobeying him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, them Jews just didn't want to listen to nothing.
Yeah.
And
but
that's it. Like, give us quail. All right, you fucking heaves.
But by the time he wrote it down, is it too off base or too, far out of line to say that maybe he would have figured out more extravagant and poetic ways to explain these things to get these disobedient people to accept them?
I don't know. I mean, at some point, I guess you got to be straightforward. I know I would be if, like, you guys kept, if I was trying to, like, get people from point A to point B, and it's like, are we there yet? Acting like a bunch of, like, 2-year-olds. I'd be like, look, shitheads. Just follow the fucking pillar of flame.
Now, I'm a logic person in everything in life.
Yeah.
100% logic. I don't really understand emotions. Maybe I'm autistic or something. I don't get it. I'm a logic person.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, if Adam and Eve have to be real, I can't believe in God. Because that isn't conducive with science, and I know science is real. That's not a faith-based thing. I know that's real. So if they don't fit together, I can't believe that one. I'm going to ditch the one that I'm not certain.
But you're also forgetting that God wanted us to be fruitful and multiply. So you don't think he would, like, bless it? I mean, he had Sarah, who had a barren womb, and God, healed it so that way she could have children.
Okay, and what are you getting at?
I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, of course, what made you think that they couldn't start a whole civilization from 2 people? I mean, you look at.
It's not that they couldn't. It's just that every piece of evidence in existence insists that that's not what happened.
What piece of evidence?
We can map, like, we have, alright, like, 100 years ago, people be like, where's the missing link? We found all the missing links. We have fossil evidence where we can see the transition of ape to human. It is there. It is laid out in front of us. There's no arguing with it.
Alright.
So, if there's no transition of ape into human, then it can't be real. Like, I refuse to believe that humans just out of the dirt one day.
No, it is written, from dust we are, from dust we will return.
Okay, and scientifically we're made of stardust. So that fits in too.
Okay.
You don't have to be so literal, is all I'm saying.
Okay.
It can all fit together logically. And if it doesn't fit together logically, I can't believe the illogical one.
Okay. Don't know how to argue with that, but okay.
Well, you seem like a pretty logical person. Do you believe in other aspects of science? And if so, what draws the line at evolution?
I guess I've never seen any real evidence to support evolution.
How much research have you done on it?
Honestly, probably none. I mean, just whatever they taught in high school, and I just wasn't convinced.
Well, isn't that kind of where the problem lies? Like,
Yeah.
you see a lot of people say that in this day and age,
Yeah.
like, I don't believe it, and then you ask them, well, how much research have you done? And the answer is almost always, well, none.
Yeah.
Well, you don't know
just,
enough to say whether you believe it or not.
Right. I mean, it just doesn't seem right that where I come from animals. It's just, especially when the Bible says you were created in His image, having logic, you were created with logic and all this.
Well, we've seen evolution occur in modern recorded history, like American wild boars. Spanish people brought those here from Spain,
Mhm.
and they just let them loose before they came here. And 50 years later, they had mutated into American wild boars, which is a completely different fucking animal. And that was just from being placed in a different environment.
Yeah, but that's not evolution because it was caused to happen.
Well, it is evolution. It's just if you place an animal in different circumstances, it is going to accommodate to those circumstances.
Yeah, but
that is what evolution is.
But it had an intelligent being had a hand in it, though.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Evolution is real, and an intelligent being had a hand in it.
Okay.
I'm not saying that God doesn't exist, but it would be equally ridiculous to say that evolution doesn't exist. I'm saying God exists, and because of the framework that He laid, evolution happens. Like, okay, if you're a Christian, if you pray for something, like if you're waiting for a promotion, you're like, oh, I pray for your will in this. I pray that, you'll lead me in the direction I need to go to. It's not like you get done praying and your phone rings and it's like, you got the promotion.
Yeah.
No, you gotta work. A course of events occurs that allows the promotion to come your way.
You gotta put in work.
Exactly.
You gotta put in work.
Yeah, but so why would this miracle be any different from that miracle? Why would it just poof into existence instead of a course of events occurring that leads to that miracle?
Oh, you might have a point.
That's why I believe it. It all boils down to logic. I believe
so
in
basically
God.
you're not either or, you're both and more.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I believe that I said it best at the beginning. I believe that Genesis is a really complex or a really simple way to explain really complex things to extremely stupid people.
Okay.
That's all it was ever intended to be. That book was written long ago. That book was written during the Middle Kingdom of Egypt.
Now.
That's a long fucking time ago. They still thought that hearts did what your brain does, and brains didn't do anything back then. I love you.
Bye.
Love you too, bye.
I wasn't talking to Louie, by the way. I was talking to my girlfriend. But
I thought she was talking to me. No.
But no, it's they were dumb people back then, and there would be no possible way to explain evolution to them. The Bible's already really fucking thick. Imagine how much thicker it would be if you broke down Darwinism.
Yeah.
They had to condense a little bit.
Well, you think
we don't understand evolution now. Even really, I get it, kind of. But I get the basics of it. It's a lot more intricate than my understanding is. And I'll say that. And I've done a lot of research on it. I've barely grazed the surface. It's really confusing. There people go to fucking college for 12 years just to figure out evolution. You can't just put that in a book.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and they just gloss over it in high school.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and that's kind of why it makes it kind of hard to believe, because I guess the lack of whatever. But maybe you think evolution would be more accepted or less accepted if they put the whole God thing into it.
I don't think it. I've always said that using science to determine religion or using religion to determine science is like using a thermometer to see what time it is. They're not the same thing. They don't relate to each other.
But you just made a case that it does.
No, I'm saying that religion doesn't dispute science. In fact, the story that we're given is conducive with the story that science gives us. But they're not connected things. Religion isn't about the scientific method of things. It's not about why things interact with each other. Religion isn't concerned with that. Religion is concerned with how people act to create a successful society. That's really all it boils down to. The whole God thing is just you need a strong anchor. Look at being a Democrat or being a Republican.
Right.
You believe those things and you hold true to them, but when it becomes inconvenient to hold true to those beliefs, you abandon them quicker than you can snap your fucking fingers because you don't have a strong anchor. But if it means life or death, if it means eternal damnation or eternal salvation, you will do it. And that's why you need a God.
Okay. All right. Don't know what to say to that.
So I even like psychologically, like even atheist psychologists will agree that religious people, even if God isn't real, religious people tend to care more about making even minor mistakes in their lives, like hurting somebody's feelings. That tends to bother them more than it bothers normal people because it means more to them. So, as far as you're concerned, even if God isn't real, He is. Because it creates a physical difference in your life. So, even if there's no heaven, even if there's no hell, a lot like Jehovah's Witnesses don't believe in that. A lot of types of Christians
we don't
and
believe
Jews don't believe in heaven or hell. A lot
well,
of
we
people
don't believe in hell because it makes no sense that a loving God would punish someone for eternity in a.
Yeah, and it doesn't say that anywhere in the Bible either. There is no hell in the Bible.
And it also makes it think that God has like an agreement with the devil that disrespected him.
Yeah, in the Bible it just says that if you don't follow the word of God in your afterlife, you just won't be connected to God. And connection to God is the feeling of love. Like, that is what that is. And you won't have the feeling of love in you anymore because you won't be connected to God. It doesn't say that you're going to burn in fire and brimstone for all of eternity. Catholics created that a thousand years later. The Bible just says, like, if you don't love God, when you die, God won't love you anymore.
Or He won't remember you.
Or won't remember you, yeah. So that's all it really is. So there doesn't
He
need
won't,
to be a hell. But that's as bad as hell. If continuing to exist without love, that might as well be hell.
Well, the way
we created hell to explain to people how bad that really is. Because if you say that to somebody, like, fuck it, what do I need love for? I don't care. Like that, the whole fire and brimstone is an analogy for, like, well, that's what life without love feels like.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, God, I forgot what I was about to say. It'll come back to me.
And I also think that it's, again, this is how science can relate to religion. Like, dimethyltryptamine, it's in your pineal gland, it makes you dream every night. And when you die, you have this massive dimethyltryptamine release, bigger than anyone you've ever had in your entire life. And they say, like, when you die, you look back on everything you've ever done in your life. And hallucinogenics, especially DMT, are very introspective drugs. They amplify your emotions. And they cause you to look at yourself more objectively. So, you get to look at everything you've ever done in your entire life. And you don't have the blind that you usually have over your eyes of, I'm a good person. That's taken away. You get to look at yourself the way that other people see you. And you get to see everything you've ever done. And that's scientifically proven. That happens when you die. You have that dimethyltryptamine release. And it's basically a big dream. Like right before, and you're like, even if they cut someone's head off, your brain continues to be active. Like they did that, like with guillotine. They did that experiment to tell the guy to keep blinking as long as he could after they cut his head off, and he kept blinking for like 45 seconds. Most of your dreams are like 30 seconds, so they could feel like they're weeks long. So that's a substantial amount of time in dream world. So and that's what it says in the Bible. It says you're called to judgment when you die for your sins. And you have to reflect on your entire life. So scientifically, that's true. You are going to have a massive DMT release, and you are going to be called to judgment for everything you've ever done. If you've been a shitty person, and you're introspectively viewing your entire life, how is that not hell? So that's really all religion is.
Yeah.
It's for you. And that's where people get confused about it. It's not just for you, too. It's for society. Like, if everybody did what it says in the Bible, not the stuff that we made up later, like fuck fags and all that stuff, burning people alive, and that's crazy shit. That's not in the Bible. If you just did what it says in the Bible, which is basically if you just read the words that are said to have come from God, be nice, no matter how hard it is, and no matter what anybody did to you first, and even after they're mean to you, be nicer to them, the meaner they are. And you are inevitably going to fuck up. a lot. When you do, be sorry and mean it and try as hard as you possibly could never to fuck up again. You will, but still try. That's really all the Bible says. And if everybody read it and just took that message away, society would be much better. We wouldn't have almost any of the problem. Fucking world hunger, warfare, all that shit would be gone. And that's really all religion is there for. It's you could be a good person or you could be a shitty person. And if you are a shitty person in your life, it's probably not going to affect you that much. It's going to cause minor annoyances, like you're going to lose your job, and you're not going to realize it because you're a shitty person. You're like, those assholes fired me because they're dickheads. But in reality, they fired you because you're a dickhead. But you're going to go through your whole life that way. And then when you die, you're going to have this introspective look at yourself, and you get to realize what a piece of shit you really are.
Right.
And that's really all it boils down to. If we look at life that way, society would work better. But we'd rather demonize religion because in our hearts, we really know that that's all it is. But that's hard to accept. And I'd rather run from it until it's over and I have to deal with it then.
That you got me thinking.
Yeah, people are a weird animal.
Yeah.
How are we going to end this?
Make out? You were like,
Oh,
well.
you got anything on your mind you want to add to this?
You guys can listen to my podcast.
Give it a plug.
Yeah, you can. I do a show called the Crotch Shot Radio Show. I do it live Wednesdays at 8 o'clock from Spreaker.com. You guys go on my... follow me on Facebook, facebook.com/Louie Bee Comedy. Or you guys could follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/Louie Bee1. I'm also on the Instagram, Louie Bee1. And I am... you guys can follow me if you guys are on DTube. Which
the
is
fuck is DTube?
DTube is a it is a decentralized YouTube. It's on the blockchain. It's a part of god damn it.
So what you're telling me is that this is a website with a lot of Nazi sympathizers posting videos on how the Holocaust didn't happen.
Mostly libertarians. Got some guys I follow. They post old Opie and Anthony clips. But you can earn cryptocurrency.
Well, what I'm talking about there too.
I don't know. I don't. Yeah. Don't know. Don't care for that. So yeah, I disavow any Nazis.
Yeah, don't send me emails, DTube.
Yeah. So. Well, you can't get deplatformed from it. That's why, because a lot of people that are getting deplatformed from YouTube, they're going to DTube. You got the Hodge twins there. They're making a lot of money on there. So, you know.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to plug? You got shows coming up?
No shows yet, but if you guys want to book me, you guys could follow. Just send me a message on Twitter at Louie Bee1.
All right. And if you're listening to this podcast as it comes out, this Tuesday, June 5th, I will be giving my second ever performance at the world famous comic strip in New York. If you are in the city, come check that out. It will be at 9:30. Thank you for listening, and, you know.